by their old name, but I'll
like
refrain from doing that for a moment.
Yeah, Christopher Smith, who AKA Powder.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of.
Maybe the best all-around player in the game, certainly in the top 5.
Fantastic blocker.
And right now we're going to see the Shock Exchange line up 6 people.
They've got their starting 5 on the line.
And an extra. This might actually be a ploy. This had happened out at the North Central, where of course you're not going to get in an illegal procedure up until the 30 seconds that they are given before the jam starts. Well, let's just say if the jam hasn't officially started, you haven't officially done anything wrong.
Right.
But they will hold kind of placements by putting an extra player or 2 out there and then dashing off the track at the last moment. And I know we all can't wait to see that.
Indeed. Well, one thing that I can tell you, as the skaters line up on the line, it looks like for New York, as I would have expected, putting out Ladies' Night with the Jammer Star to kick this one off.
Does he have his lunch pail with him? Ladies' Night, as we have generally referred to as your lunch pail jammer.
Yeah, he goes to work.
That is a guy without a lot of speed, without a lot of flash. He just is patient. He waits for the right blocks, and he's got just that nice. He's got enough burst to get through the holes at the very end. And he was really the one that buried the Misfits last year, and the Misfits controlled Jonathan R.
Yes.
Throughout the entire bout. I mean, Jonathan ended up putting the nail in the coffin at the very end. Right. It was really Ladies' Night, probably 30-some points in that game.
Sure, yeah.
That was the difference.
The key word I think he used was patience. He's a very patient skater. He waits for his opportunities. He follows his blockers. He waits for holes. He doesn't really try to make a lot happen on the track. He lets his teammates do that for him, and they do a pretty good job.
Yeah, yeah. And, of course, we do see one of the Shock Exchange members roll off. We now start. We're back at the pivot. They were back at the jammer line. We start with a scrum start. Portland out in front with a nice wall. Ladies' Night, though, doing a nice job of trying to move through it.
He's gotten through 3 skaters. He's trying to get by that last one up at the front of the pack. It's him trying to fight through.
Nice job of bridging right there, because he absolutely saved them from a split pack. And that sends number 9.
That's Bangers and Stash, who made it out of the pack for the Menace. He's out in front with lead jammer status. Ladies' Night also out of the pack now too, but Bangers and Stash now making his first scoring pass.
And I tell you, X, for as many times as we have watched people bridge, how often has it really ever done anything? Not very often.
No.
That was maybe one of the most. That was probably the one case that I have seen that it really made a big turnaround.
Yep. They kept the pack going there, and were able to spring Bangers and Stash. Got him out in front of Ladies' Night, struggling at the front of the pack, and a quick into the pack, getting a couple of points and calling it off quickly. That's going to be a 2-0 lead for the Bridgetown Menace.
Yeah, very good move. And, of course, we're going to see them start. Oh, once again from the scrum start, but look at that. Off to the race is going to be number 8. That's going to be Bleed 'em and Reap.
That's right. He's way out in front. Looks like Jonathan R. for the New York Shock Exchange knocked into the center of the track. He's going to have to recycle and come around the back. Fighting through a 3-wall up in front.
Oh, and does he? Oh, nice job of staying up. I don't know how he takes that hit.
He took a hit from number 69, Don Juan, the Devastator, and managed to stay in bounds. He didn't even get a skate out of bounds there. It looked like he was going to land head first on the warning track.
And we're going to see Bleed 'em and Reap get into the pack, hit it and quit it. And it looks like he's going to get a point. I believe that's going to be a 1-0 run.
That's right. He's in there, like you said, hits it, quits it, picks up the 3-0 lead now for Bridgetown.
You know, there are not many people that have the ability to control their body the way that Jonathan R. does. I don't know if anybody else would have taken that shot, which was almost blind.
Yeah.
And it hardly even rocked him.
No, he's got such great balance when he's on his skates, and I mean he can get hit, blindsided, pirouette, and be right back in stride.
And Devastator hit him hard. All right, we got Ladies Night out there once again. Oh, as he struggles trying to get through the Portland front, too. Portland's going to get lead jammer, and that's going to be Bustin Mornos. You may recognize him as a former Twin City Terror.
So far, Ladies Night now finally out of the pack for the New York Shock Exchange. He's not going to be your lead jammer, as that belongs to Bustin Mornos. And got to say, the Bridgetown Menace 3 straight lead jammer calls. They pick up a few more points and once again blank the Shock Exchange. It's going to be a 7-0 lead for Bridgetown, and in this 3-6 matchup, I think a lot of people would have figured it to start off the other way.
Yeah, but I take a look at, you take a look at that Portland team, and that's some pretty rock solid bodies out there. They're not going to be easy to move. And we see them kind of all, they decide to take a knee now to spring the jammer.
Well, in this jam, they're finally giving up front position to some of the New York skaters. They've been starting out in front every other jam.
Oh, Aces skates backwards, doing a nice job of just leveraging bodies back into the pack. Try to keep the jammer out.
Trying to make some room for Ronnie Mako, the jammer, to get out in front for New York.
And Bangers and Stash going to go around the outside. Bangers and Stash, your lead jammer. Nice job of just being patient around the outside of the back. What do we got going on the inside with Ronnie?
Well, Ronnie Mako there, he's moved to the outside now, still fighting against what was a 3-wall. Now with a couple people hitting the deck, including Ronnie Mako, who's just got one skater to beat. But they've done a great job of tying him up, and the more that his teammates concentrate on trying to break him free, they lose track of the other jammer, Bangers and Stash, being able to get around and do some damage.
Yeah, they're doing a nice job on the second pass with Bangers and Stash. Ace of Skates showing why he is such an effective blocker.
Ronnie Mako finally out of the pack on his initial pass. That took a good portion of the jam.
Wolverine not gonna stop. He calls it off. Wolverine knowing he's got to wait for 4 whistles till play is done. Gives him a little pop in the chest. Hello. And of course, this reverse blocking, which we've seen can be so effective. Well, you want to wait till the next game because the Misfits have perfected that.
Yeah, they've done that for a long time. You usually see most of their blocking course skating backwards throughout the course of the jam. And they really, really can push. They really are great on their skates, and they don't get pushed around very much.
Well, I think a lot of it, as we get started here once again, it looks like it's going to be Jonathan R. out there for the Shock Exchange. He's going to get run inside by Portland, and he's going to be through in your lead jammer.
Bustin Morno still tied up in the pack with Harm's Way and Abe Drinkin', as Jonathan R. makes it through most of the pack, still trying to get around Don Juan the Devastator. Finally does so. That's going to be 4 points.
And Bustin's going to get back up, and he's going to run right into a 4-wall of New York Shock Exchange.
So Jonathan R., after that first grand slam, slips through outside-inside move and picks up another 5.
Oh, yeah. Heck, we're in Missouri. We can go to Denny's.
And a quick grand slam once again for Jonathan R. as the pack has stopped between basically at turn 4.
And
again, a grand slam for Jonathan R. as the pack has not moved out of that corner for about 3 laps.
And ladies and gentlemen, Bustin Mornos is still out on the track.
He is having a hard time, as I said, with Harm's Way and Abe Drinkin'.
He just went down and grabbed his hamstring.
Yeah, he doesn't look good. He's not getting up very quickly. But he is trying to get up, but he goes back down.
He's off the track, but now he's on the track. They're going to have to call a
Brad Religion calls the official timeout, and we've got an injury timeout.
Well, he grabs his right hamstring, and now he grabs his left. Maybe cramped up. Obviously, a lot of strength goes into, a lot of leg strength goes into trying to break through those types of walls that he's had himself buried in.
Yeah, it looks like a left hammy, more than likely. as Bustin Morneau skates off the track.
Well, they'll try to stretch that out. Hopefully it's just cramped.
Hope so.
You don't hope that, but hopefully that's the
We hope it's not something worse, yes.
Yes.
So getting ready to come out of the injury timeout. Teams are lined back up. Nobody currently in the penalty box. We've seen little as far as penalties so far.
No, it's been pretty clean.
We have only played about 7 minutes.
So there, that was that a 25-point run?
I believe so.
What an amazing hit. That's going to be number 85 that's going to be out in front. That's Shreddy Mercury. He takes a huge hit to start with, gets back up. In some ways, it propelled him so far forward that it put him in a situation that he was clear of the pack.
Indeed, he did not pick up lead jammer, however, so an initial pass done by Shreddy Mercury, now working on a scoring pass.
And Portland just hammering on Ladies Night.
Ladies Night, the jammer for New York, trying to get around T-Stop Tornado with the self-assist at the front of the pack, still locked behind a bunch of the Bridgetown Menace up at the front.
Menace there doing a nice job of sealing him to the outside of the track. Again, nice bridge. And by forcing him out of bounds, they can now close it back up. No, apparently they're gonna say that he was, I'm guessing that they must have run him out of bounds.
Indeed. Well, Shreddy Mercury.
The hit went too far, and he carried himself out of bounds, so he was able to keep going.
Well, they were trying to push him out just then again after another lap, but Shreddy Mercury sat down in the penalty box just about 40 seconds ago or so. So an advantage out there for New York at the moment. Power jam situation. And the Bridgetown Menace doing a great job of slowing Ladies Night down during this scenario.
Well, I think the biggest deal is that Portland's doing a nice job of avoiding the pack split. I mean, every time you see New York waiting for them to get out to that 20 feet, they wind up, somebody bridges or does something to pull it back together.
Yeah, their track awareness has been great in that regard.
And Shreddy right now, he's going to get a minor track cut there. Just does, then he just takes his shoulder again. Abe drinking. Abe skating backwards, hey, come out and bring it.
Yeah, they just left Ace of Skates and Marlon Brando over on the side to harass Shreddy Mercury as he kept trying to come back in from out of bounds.
Yeah.
Every time he would step back in, he got knocked back out.
And Abe decided he'd get a couple of shots in there.
So yes, again, bangers and stash for the Bridgetown Menace on the jammer line, going up against Ronnie Mako. But we do have a timeout.
And of course, we know that these are not teams, and these men's league teams in particular don't go with a very deep jammer stable. You know, I mean, the Misfits might be the only team that can, because all of them could jam for the most part.
Right.
But you will see the Misfits probably run 4, maybe 5 different people. But I think a 3-man rotation is probably pretty common, and that's what we're seeing out of both of these teams.
Indeed. Out of the New York Shock Exchange so far, you're seeing a lot of Ladies Night, a lot of Jonathan R. and Ronnie Mako. Occasionally you might see somebody else thrown in there, but usually not until later on in the game when things become necessary. But their normal jammer rotation usually consists of those 3 fellas.
Well, and the one thing you have to say about the Shock Exchange is they're very good about adapting for situations. And a lot of times when you do see somebody else out there jamming that isn't a part of the regular rotation, it's because they have moved some of those jammers, Jonathan in particular, into the pack to try to make holes for people.
Yeah, Jonathan R., obviously a gifted jammer, but also does a fine job at the pivot position, really running things in their pack.
He's just probably one of the most gifted athletes out on the track.
He was the most valuable player at Nationals last year, right?
Yes.
So the skaters are released. Ronnie Mako makes the first pass around the back of the pack, Bangers and Stash still tied up at the 3-wall of Shockers at the rear. Ronnie Mako out in front now, splitting the defense for lead jammer status.
Yeah, and right now Bangers and Stash caught trying to get his welly through the front of the pack, and with Ronnie coming up through the back, Bangers and Stash is going to get through, and it's the lack of blockers because of penalties that is affecting Portland at the moment. And
Bruce Payne made a nice block on Bainana on skates to spring Bangers and Stash and get him out of the pack right there. But that one called off before Bangers and Stash can get around on a scoring pass. So New York, after trailing early in this one, taking a lead. It's now 44-14 as we've played about 10 minutes.
And you know, right there shows how valuable blocking is, especially to the way Portland is playing, because they could not set up and hold the jammer back the way that they wanted to with only two blockers out on the track.
And they've still only got 2 blockers out on the track, as they've still got a couple in there, one returning from the penalty box at the moment. And we were just talking about Jonathan Arn. He's out in front for lead jammer right now.
Yeah, he's going to break through. Now we're going to finally see the jammer from Portland get through.
That's right. Bleedham and Reap is out and around after his initial pass. Jonathan R. leaping a downed skater on the track. Lands perfectly, picks up the 5-point grand slam, it looks like.
When you're a big guy, only 4 points. It's hard to fall small. and Jonathan just leapt right over him like it was nothing.
Yeah, you can only fall so small.
That's right. His ref name was Flying Squirrel, and I think he does prove that he's got that ability.
Yeah, he definitely has hops. So another 4 points picked up there by Jonathan R. and the New York Shock Exchange.
And oddly enough, what looked like it was going to be a just grinded out kind of game suddenly open up. As you see both teams get started here. The New York Shock Exchange is going to start from a knee, try to spring Ladies Night. Oh, he takes...
Or at this point, Ladies Night trying to spring himself more than anything, as he's got a...
Bangers and Stash actually doing a nice job of just driving Ladies Night to the inside. And we finally have a lead jammer.
It's going to be Don Juan, the Devastator, for the Bridgetown Menace.
I tell you, he has got such a scary build. The Devastator, he is fast. He is, look at how smooth he skates. He's got this amazingly smooth stride, and he cut the track just
little too smooth.
Yep.
Little too smooth.
Yeah, that would be Walenda missing that step by just a little bit and hitting the falls. But
so once again,
Ladies Night showing a bit of a move there. He got caught in the gut. He wasn't too happy about that, but that was absolutely incidental.
He picked up a 5-pointer right there, as the penalty box is sort of, at least blocker-wise, is filled up for the Bridgetown Menace. This is sort of what New York kind of plans on. I mean, their thing is to get you in penalty trouble and to score on you whenever you're in the box. Yeah. And they do that a lot. And I definitely think that's what's led them back into the lead in this game. Another grand slam for Ladies Night.
Abe Drinkin with a nicely timed hit on number 15. That speed bump. And he actually forces him into a track cut. And so they're right there. And you don't see that very often. Strategically, you are driving their blockers into the penalty box.
And around the outside, once again, is Ladies Night. Picks up another 5-er.
Bustin Marnos apparently got his hamstring stretched out. Devastator going to try to get through the front 4. He ends up taking kind of an awkward fall backward.
I think Ladies Night picked up a little illegal procedure minor back there. I think he tried to call off the jam without being the lead jammer. He got called for a little minor right there.
And, of course, our favorite is the major when they actually give it to you.
Right.
when we accidentally give it to you and then penalize you.
All right, looks like we've got Jonathan R. on again.
So with a little over 15.5 minutes remaining, it's New York Shock Exchange 71, Portland, Bridgetown Menace 14. Stuck on that number for a while is Bridgetown.
Yeah, and if you're just tuning in, believe me, this game has looked nothing like the score indicates.
And Jonathan R. out in front quickly out of turn 1, picks up lead jammer.
And we're going to see a different jammer out there right now.
That's Shreddy Mercury for the Bridgetown Menace. Or excuse me, it's hard to see their stars. Yeah. That is not Shreddy Mercury. That's Bruce Payne.
Yep. Yeah, the star on that gray star on the purple helmet is not an easy thing to see sometimes.
Yeah, it kind of just, whenever they're moving, it looks like a blur of shiny purple.
Yeah. Lining up right now, looks like we got Ronnie Mako out there for New York Shock Exchange. And
Bangers and Stash once again.
With the Jiffy Pop shorts. You don't want to eat that popcorn. Bangers and Stash going to come around the outside. He's looking for some room. He's not going to find it.
Looking for it on the outside. He's got T-Stop, Tornado, and Abe Drinkin up there at the front, trying to hold him back. Ronnie Mako still tied up at the rear of the pack, trying to get past a 3-wall.
Oh, there was a hit on Abe Drinkin by speed bump, but unfortunately he dominoed Bangers and Stash to the inside, who has to then recycle. But Ronnie Mako is going nowhere at the moment.
That's right, Ronnie Mako still tied up right now in the middle of the pack. Now as he gets towards the front, he's got a couple of teammates that can help him out, but he gets pushed out of bounds at the front by the Determinator. That's the only skater Ronnie Mako has left to beat.
There we go, and it's going to open up. Oh, we finally going to get a lead jam, but he's going to get caught.
That's right, Bangers and Stash got pushed to the inside. Ronnie Mako got pushed to the outside, and then there was no more jammers.
That was Ladies' Night that shot up to the front and put the lick on him.
Yeah, he really turned on the wheels, too. He went from stopped, more or less, and jumped up to the front to make a block.
And
on Bangers and Stash.
Ladies' Night, not a guy you see in the pack very often.
Jeffery up at the front of the pack along with Abe Drinkin, putting a hit on Bangers and Stash once again, knocking him to the inside of the track.
I have a feeling these guys are going to have to take a nap before they come back for the second half. And of course, it's been an all-Slayer morning. Bodies drop. We have seen more hard hits this morning than I've seen in my entire 9 years of roller derby.
Well, we've seen a lot of them, and unfortunately, we've seen a couple of injuries happen, too, that have taken some people off the track today.
Yeah, well, the game prior to this, Dallas up against the Gatekeepers. Gatekeepers, of course, taking care of business, but Dallas always relentless in the way that they hit. It turned into a very, very physical game. A lot of people coming up limping.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. And it's going to be Dangerfield.
Shreddy Mercury tried to put a hit on Sammy Dangerfield. Missed him completely, went out of bounds. But now Sammy Dangerfield, your lead jammer, trying to keep up with Bleed 'em and Reap, number 8. And also out in front for Menace.
Bleed 'em and Reap, not quite sure. Bleed 'em and Reap just going to antagonize him into calling off the jam.
Sammy Dangerfield, of course, making the move from DJ at last year's championships to a skater this year.
That's right.
That's right. As one of the people running around doing the sound last year, he was a great DJ. I will say that.
He's a great skater.
Indeed.
He's got some amazing moves.
He does. He's a very gifted skater. I'm really glad to have the opportunity to see him skate. I believe he was with the team at Spring Roll, but I don't know if he actually rostered and skated in any of those games.
Recall.
He may have.
And of course, the largest disappointment of all, Buster cheating on the charter. Not here to skate.
Indeed, he is injured. That's all I know.
He is.
Yeah. I don't know what his injury is, what it consists of, but that's what kept him off the track.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm disappointed in the fact that he won't be here and we won't have a chance to visit. But to me, that's a man that's way too valuable to have out on the track being knocked around.
Well, they do have championships, WFTDA championships coming up here soon.
Exactly.
As well as the Shock the UK trip coming up next month as well.
And now you also have to remember that he plays, his role is his role is to lead the board. I forget what the title is, if it's kind of the CEO or
chairman or
something like that. Yep, Gotham voted him to that top slot. Obviously, a guy with an awful lot of vision when it comes to Derby.
All of his Team USA responsibilities.
Exactly. I wonder how he finds time to do anything else, actually. But I hope, that's one guy that if you're going to put him out there, you better put a titanium helmet on him and make sure that it would automatically freeze so that the Derby brain is able to be kept alive at all times.
Just keep Buster Cheaton in a jar.
Make sure he's got a USB drive in the back of his neck so he can save all of it. I hope you're watching, Buster. We miss you, buddy. Oh, nice moves there by Ladies Night.
A little lateral back and forth there by Ladies Night, trying to get around that front blocker, and he's out in front once again, lead jammer status, holding on to a 64-point lead for the New York Stock Exchange.
And I tell you, Ladies Night showing us that he's got a little more in the toolbox than I even really thought.
Well, as we said, Bob, you got to be patient. We had to wait for the game to get going, and then we're going to see what he's got to offer. And we're definitely seeing it now.
Ladies Night down. In the meantime, out there for Portland, we're going to see Bruce Payne again. Bruce Payne's going to get sent off the track. That's really bad news right there for.
That's right. Power jam situation here. Ladies Night, very few skaters on the track. Penalty box filled up with blockers on both sides.
But still going to be power jam.
Just makes an emptier track for Ladies Night to work with.
I got caught in my words as that was kind of a strange hit that Ladies Night had taken out of bounds, where his hands were still in and the skates were kind of touching one way as he was kind of hurtled over, laying over the top of a player. And we were waiting to find out if that was going to be a track cut or not.
Shreddy Mercury being sent to the box on an out-of-play major as he was dueling with Ladies Night a little too far in front of the pack. Ladies
Night just took what was almost a standstill sit block to the gut.
Yep. Out in front once again, though, is Ladies Night. He picks up the 5 points.
Yeah, he's going to get around speed bump and demolition. The demolition man. Boy, I tell you, Portland may not be there and may not have an opportunity to take the cup home this year, but we can see that this team is gearing up. That by next year, it's going to be a whole different story.
Yeah, all I can say is I'm looking forward to spring roll next year if there is one and if they make it there. It'll be I love seeing how these teams develop. I unfortunately only have the opportunity to see them a couple of times a year at these big events.
Yeah.
And it's great to see all these teams that you've seen before. You've seen all these skaters and just see the development like we were talking before the game. Because this Portland team from Bridgetown has come along. Seeing teams like the Gatekeepers come along over the last couple of years.
And right now they're going to try and bridge it, and we finally get across to the pivot line. And
Jonathan R. against Don Juan the Devastator, and Jonathan R. aggressively trying to get through the front of the pack. Don Juan doesn't have to, smoothly slides right through. 4 lead jammer status. Jonathan R. finally out and on his trail.
Considering there was very little space, he never broke stride. I think he just passes through matter. Nice run.
Don Juan trying to hit it and quit it, gets up in there and calls it off for 3 points. Manages to do it just before Jonathan R. hits the rear of the pack. No points for New York on that jam.
I'm not so sure that they shouldn't run Don Juan more often. He's slippery. He's incredibly, incredibly slippery.
I think because of his frame, he can get a lot lower than a lot of the people are getting out there on the track. He is a very strong guy, but he's not very tall. And with that stride, he just moves. Yeah, he's just very, very slick. It's fun to watch him skate. Yeah,
he's got a style you don't see very often.
No, I agree. It would be interesting to see what happens if he was bumped up the rotation a little bit more for Bridgetown.
You know, right now you've had Buston out there once. It didn't go well. He ended up hurting a hamstring. I doubt that I would be surprised to see them put him back out there on the jammer line. So you're counting on Shreddy. You're counting on Bangers and Stash.
Little Bruce Payne.
Yep. But so far, we've really liked what we've seen out of the Devastator.
Bridgetown taking the line. A couple of shockers in front. Looks like Ladies Night and Ace of Skates up in front with Jonathan R. on the line.
Yeah, Ace of Skates almost makes up for one blocker in the box. I believe, was Ace blocker of the tournament last year? I think he may have been.
Could have been.
Jonathan R. kind of pacing back and forth, looking to check out where he feels the hole is going to be there. And interestingly, they're going to come off the line and, oh, look at this!
Tommy Gunn goes inside, pushes to the outside, but Ace of Skates able to back him out of the track.
Boy, that was a saving block right there.
And Tommy Gunn slips through the pack, goes around the outside of turn 3, and he's going to be your lead.
Oh, my. I tell you, Ace of Skates looked like he had him dead right in the turn 3, and then we kind of lost view of him through the NSOs, and he came out in front.
Jonathan R. now in pursuit after coming out of the pack, but Tommy Gunn pushed to the outside once again by Ace of Skates, who takes a shot of his own from Bleed 'em and Reap.
The two of them exchanging gratuities. It starts as a wave in the first half. It's friendly in the first half. Well, the last 10 minutes.
There was something getting exchanged there. I don't know if it was gratuitous or not. But
yeah. And we're lined up once again, ready for the next jam. Portland starting to, once again, scratching and clawing back in with some more points, and now we have an official timeout.
And we've been kind of stuck on this score for just a little bit. It seems like the last couple of jams haven't really produced a whole lot. Portland's picked up about 3 points in the last couple of jams, but New York also only really picking up just about 3 points.
Yep.
So the last couple of minutes have been fairly tight.
Portland has really done, when Portland is at full strength, they have shown that they can match up so well against the Bridgetown Menace. Or I'm sorry, they are the Bridgetown Menace up against the Shock Exchange. But I tell you, I think, you know, really as the more I watch this, it's the Shock Exchange drawing these fouls, causing cut tracks, and actually doing some focusing on getting blockers out of the game.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's funny because I'm sure it's done. It's probably not done as frequently as you would like to think, but it's been obvious that it's part of their strategy, and that's not something I've noticed very often.
So we get going after the timeout. 1 blocker in the box for each team. 3-on-3 blocking. As Abe Drinkin, this time jamming for the Shock Exchange, is knocked down at the rear of the pack.
Oh, Bruce Payne almost made it through. He ends up knocked out of bounds. He comes back in, and he's going to get out first. They're going to say he's not lead jammer. And
a little no pass, no penalty with a track cut. And Abe Drinkin trying to get around Shreddy Mercury at the front. Shreddy's got to let him go. And Abe quickly calls the jam off.
He just got it.
Barely in time to keep Bruce Payne from putting a couple points on the board.
Yep, that's going to be goose eggs all the way around.
As I said, the last few minutes of this period have really been pretty tight. Not a lot of scoring happening. It's pretty slow. Just noticed one of our favorite officials, Pachinko, out there on the referee crew.
Yeah, it's
from way back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. As well as Sugar Daddy. We've got Mr. Rock here today. It's a New York state of mind.
And Persand out there also.
It's old school refereeing at the MRDA champs.
So just 5:20 remaining in this period. 17 jams in. 93-17 is your score. New York Shock Exchange leading the Bridgetown Menace. If you're just joining us, Shock Exchange in white, the Bridgetown Menace in black and purple.
Or black and silver. Shorts designed, of course, by NASA, been wind tunnel tested, guaranteed not to burn up on re-entry to the Earth's atmosphere, and will produce Jiffy Pop on the way down. That, my friend, is an awful lot of features for a pair of shorts.
Indeed.
And if you wear them on your head, it'll keep the aliens from communicating with you.
That's right.
That could happen at the after party.
So the timeout comes to an end. This time it's going to be Don Juan the Devastator against Jonathan R. Still one skater apiece in the box, so still 3-on-3 blocking. A little more open of a track and two of the fastest, best skaters out there trying to score points. Let's see what happens. Jonathan R. tries to get around the outside of turn 1, nothing there. Finds the inside of turn 2, and he's going to be your lead jammer.
Yeah, that was really a smart move by him as he helps them. He works with them to be driven to the outside, knowing that there's an inside cut there. I think he was well aware of what he was getting into.
Yeah, I think some of the struggling that they do is knowing that they're creating a spot on the track where there's going to be something open on the other side. And once again, Don Juan and Jonathan R. Jonathan R. picks up the grand slam, but you got both jammers on each other now as they come around the track.
And I'll tell you, Devastator, as much as we've enjoyed watching him, he's not going to knock Jonathan R. over, and he's not going to be able to skate for as long because they just don't come with that same kind of battery as Jonathan does.
It's hard to imagine, at least, that he would be able to do that. Jonathan can go and go and go.
And there he's, oh, aces skates with the exclamation point. I like big blocks, and I cannot lie.
He laid Don Juan the Devastator out into a somersault. The guy went head over heels. I have not seen that happen before.
And please don't bring back the song. Oh! There's Bangers and Stash, or I'm sorry, Bleed 'em and Reap coming up on Jonathan. Somehow catches his back leg. Very, very, very strange entanglement. Look at that, Jonathan and I are going to dip down again on one leg.
Planted his hands on the floor, but kept that foot on the ground. And another 5-point grand slam for Jonathan as the New York Shock Exchange now over the century mark.
Well, we now know that Jonathan is also one of the most flexible people we've ever seen.
Well, it's like I said earlier, his balance is just something that you can't take away from him. He's going to have it.
Apparently not, because he's on one skate, nose almost on the ground. He could have skate court burn on his nose, and he would not have fallen. That is amazing.
Yeah, I don't know where his center of gravity is, but it's somewhere in there.
Yeah,
it moves.
That's exactly. Oh, nice move around the outside for Portland. That's going to be 1939. Of course, that is the one, the only Bruce Payne.
And Payne Anna on skates for the Shock Exchange, finally out on his initial pass.
The man can mascot, the man can skate. You know, he does a chicken again. Oh. You know, the one thing I will say
He's
about
a colorful soul, Payne on skates.
Yeah, and the one thing I have to say about him is they seem to have situations that they like to use him in. And, in that case, jamming was not effective. But I've seen them put him in the block, and he might have only blocked for 3 jams. And they put him in right at the right time, right situation.
It seems that he's got an assignment.
Good. Yeah.
It seems that he usually has an assignment. And they say, go in and do this.
And speaking of go, Bustin' Marnos, I was wrong. I guess he is going to get another shot to jam.
Yep, they've got him in at jammer, and it works. He gets lead jammer status very quickly, out way in front of Ronnie Mako for the Shock Exchange.
Apparently Bustin', as he signals to get his pack to come back and help him block, realizes he's not going to take on that far wall alone again. And they do a nice job of kind of blindly slowing things down and rocking him a little bit, and he's going to get through. Oh, did he get called?
No, he speaking of 4, he picked up a 4th minor in that little transition there.
Probably a back block, I think it was. Guess.
I think it was a back block. So Ronnie Mako now out on the power jam, picks up the 5-point grand slam.
Oh, and there, Portland asleep at the wheel. They leave the inside totally open, and they got there about 10 feet after he got through.
So another 5-pointer for Ronnie Mako, working on another one as we've just crossed under 1 minute to play in this period. So a 4-pointer, a no pass, no penalty on one of the skaters in that block. So a 4-pointer there by Ronnie Mako.
And again, ladies' night. He's got, I tell you, man. Oh! There's.
And Ronnie Mako splits the defense, gets through Blitzkrieg and Demolition Man.
And yeah, my silence there stricken as Ronnie Mako ends up taking a very strange fall, then gets up and starts to call off the jam, which he doesn't get seen, and he decides to keep going.
Indeed, and right now he's going to get passed up by Bruce Payne.
And
excuse me, that's Busta Mornos.
Yeah, he's back out on the track.
And that's the end of regulation time in the first period of play. So that's going to do it for the first half here in game number 3 between the 3 and the 6 seed, New York Shock Exchange and the Bridgetown Menace. Our score is 135-29.
And as we see the Misfits, and we're going to see Puget Sound come out on the track to warm up. We'll let you take a couple of minutes to go get something else to eat, grab something from the fridge, use the bathroom. Whatever it is you need to do. Throw in a load of laundry, why not? Because we'll be back in about 10 minutes or so.
See you then.